and that's what you have to remember when you're going down to Baja, is it is lawless country, and that comes with the territory. You have to be careful about certain things, and commercial fishing's a big thing there.
The reason why I love floating so much is like the scenery, the experience all the way down the river, the stop for lunch, the hangout,
Roll up and it's just like absolute chaos. There's like birds diving, 200-pound fish coming out of the water, fully eating fish like 8 feet off of the boat. Sometimes it's absurd, and then you have to put a fly in there. And
all right, we are back in the FSR podcast room, the beautiful grass room, and we've got a guest in town here, a local Colorado guy, but a very tan Colorado guy that came from south of the border. So we're going to talk about fly fishing today, camping, Baja, Colorado, all sorts of different stuff. So
usual stuff.
We'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce Alec. We've known each other for a long time. Well,
it's been a long time
4,
now,
5,
honestly.
6 years.
Yeah.
Started off kind of just fly fishing together through some mutual friends, and we always have too much fun in the boat, and so it's turned into us just kind of being buddies and staying connected through, fishing and living vicariously through you, I think, more than anything. But we wanted to get you on here, and part of Free Spirit is avenues to what you're going to do outside, and so you're doing one of those specific things that's fly fishing and getting out there and being able to camp and kind of live this nomad life. So we're excited to have you.
Don't do it. You're gonna lose your girlfriends.
Well, yeah, give us a little, I don't know, for the people listening, like a backstory, kind of how you got to being a guide and all that stuff.
So when I grew up fishing with my mom and dad. My mom.
Were you born and raised here?
No, not at all. I'm from the Carolinas.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yep. So I grew up in the Carolinas. Most of the time in Charlotte, North Carolina. A lot of time in Charleston, South Carolina. But I can pretty much remember every morning going out with my mom and fishing bait for redfish, and then my dad taking me to Tennessee and teaching me how to fly fish on the South Holston. And that's kind of where the love started. And I just fished my whole life, all through college and everything. And then I moved out to Colorado just by the seat of my pants, like just dropped out of college with $80 in my pocket and like slept on a brick floor and was like checking IDs underage at a bar in Vail. And then I like graduated to like sleeping on the couch in the shop and sweeping floors and guiding fly fishing at Minturn Anglers. Probably shouldn't have said that, but love those boys. But it all started in Colorado for me as far as the guide life goes. But I'd always fished, and then fast forward to a few years ago, that's when I started going down to Baja to chase rooster fish and met George and Rudy that own Los Locos Mag Bay, which is an obscene ordeal, and they brought me onto the team, and I was forever grateful for that. Changed my life. Yeah.
So we talk about like memories as kids and all of that stuff, and we have like memories of going out to Canada and doing the backpacking stuff, but is that like ingrained, like you can remember back in the day, like was it fly fishing with your dad, or was it just every type of fishing?
Yeah, pretty much every type. Bass fishing ponds and people's property that I shouldn't have been on as a kid with my friend Steven, and going to the pier with my mom and fishing for redfish, or going to the South Holston and fly fishing with my dad. We'd go everywhere we went. We had some kind of fishing rod with us.
So your Instagram handle is Fish a Day.
Yeah.
You live by that. Like
I caught a fish.
You catch
today.
a fish. You did. I
caught a fish today.
I was like, did you catch a fish today?
Yeah, I caught a fish today.
I live vicariously through Alec, watching all the fly fishing videos and everything he's doing down in Baja, but it all started in Colorado. So I want to talk about Colorado fly fishing, and I have kind of a unique perspective on it because I love fly fishing, but I'm not like a master at it, to where I really want to go out by myself.
Yeah.
I really want to go out and learn from somebody else. And I think that's like when you and I and Tanner and we all went out, we did try to shoot a video that day and had some pretty entertaining.
Yeah, nobody's ever seen it because it was
Yeah,
not a great video.
the
but-
drone.
It never made it. It flew
The
into a
footage
tree.
never went anywhere. But I had a big fish on, and we were flying the drone, and then it decided to just go haywire and went all the way across the river into an island, and we went and fished that drone out to go
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
It's not the first drone. That
It's
we've
not the
flown
first
into a
drone.
tree. It's not.
I think
looking over the
I
list
think
right
I've
now.
hit a couple trees with mine. Couple
Yeah.
trees, couple rocks.
Yeah, they're built for getting crashed into trees and stuff.
Yeah.
So
You can super glue the wings back on. They still fly.
exactly.
I saw a dude in the ocean that was like, they're like landing the drone and they're gonna catch it in their hand, and it was like a big one, and he like went up to grab it and his fingers like went up in the blades, and you just hear chong chong chong, and it's just like he like
Oh no.
sets the drone down and his fingers are just
As he
bleeding.
destroyed.
And I'm like, no, land it on the front of the boat, please.
Yeah, no.
I've seen so many funny things with those out in the ocean. My buddy last year was like, I had a marlin on, and we're fishing at it. He was here visiting me for fun, and he's like, I'm gonna fly the drone and like get some footage. And I was like, okay. And he just takes it off and it just goes straight into the ocean. And I was like, whoa, holy shit. I was like, did you calibrate it or do anything? He's like, no, are you supposed to do that? And I was like, oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep, it's gone.
You
He's like,
dive in there and
he's
go
like,
get
what do I
it.
do? I was like, it's gone. It's over. Grab a fly rod and start fishing.
Yeah, now it's a UFO underwater.
Yeah. It's over.
So we started fly fishing together, but I think that there's so much education in fly fishing, and we talk about it like it's underwater bow hunting. Like bow hunters need to know a lot more information per se than
Yeah.
rifle hunters. I may get chastised for that, but I feel like it's the
No, dude,
part
it's
of
the
the
truth.
deal.
I would agree with that from my experience with all my buddies bow hunting. I would say the same thing. Yeah.
And I mean, my brother-in-law that free dives and does that, he's like, okay, that it is underwater bow hunting, but it is like all the same things. Like
Yeah.
fish kind of, that's their habitat, right? So
Yeah.
they have their little nooks and crannies, just like in the mountains, like elk have, the fish have that. And like going out with somebody like you, like gives us the opportunity to like, what the hell is in your brain? What do you know? Like all the different, pressure, moons, like what all goes into it?
I mean, it's so complicated. I always tell people it's like if you pick that book up, it literally never ends, and it's the hardest book to read sometimes. And so every day you wake up and you pour a cup of coffee and you just scratch your head and go, please God, be there. Like all you're like thinking is, please God, where are the fish? Like what's going on, And you put all this like thought into it, and we all have our hypotheses and we talk about it the night before, but there's always an element of luck, right? But as far as like day to day, I'm looking at like weather patterns, barometric pressure, water temperature, the moon phases, moon set, moon rise. They play a huge part. Tides are the biggest. Like fish in the ocean, especially, most of them feed very tidal dependent. Whether it's you just mostly need a push, falling or incoming, but
Really?
it's very
That-
very
is it
important.
different in the ocean to the river system?
Yeah, big time. I mean, there's no tides, we
Right,
don't
right.
deal with that in the river, but you definitely see like feeding habits affected by moon phases with trout.
Okay.
I love, near a full moon or near a new moon coming off of it or coming up to it. That's like your best time to fish typically. But it depends on the species. Like a lot of fish that we chase, like sometimes the yellowtail, they don't like big pushes. They don't like big moon phases. So we're looking for like in between those times to go chase them.
Do you ever get skunked?
I've gotten skunked. I hate to
Guiding
admit
He
that.
admitted it.
This is funny. It's funny you brought that up. With one of my best clients, I actually, for the first time in my life, got skunked 2 years ago, and I very clearly remember the day.
Burned a
It was
hole in your
painful
brain.
day.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't need to shut down your Instagram account.
Right.
Everyone
I'm sure
fails
you
every once
caught
in a
one.
while.
It was the,
Nope, none of us got one. But we kind of knew what was going down. We went into the river, and it was dirt brown. I was kind of
Oh.
expecting it not to go well.
So talk about that a little bit, just as like here in Colorado, maybe the different seasons of fly fishing and how that, what does that look like in a 12-month calendar year?
I mean, it's so all over the place. Like it can be too hot, too cold, too much water, too dirty water. There's always something, honestly, when you're on the river. We just got done with our spring runoff. So May and June in Colorado are typically not the time to be here and fish because the rivers jump from, 900,000 CFS to 10, 15,000 CFS on the Colorado.
What does that mean, CFS?
Cubic feet per second.
Oh,
so
okay.
the flow of the river.
Oh, I see.
So when that jumps way up, all those fish get displaced and they're uncomfortable, and the water drops temp hugely because of the snow melt. So it's a no-go. And then you wait, and people anticipate that flow to come down, and then by, I think it was, this year it seemed like July was kind of the time to be out there. With our hot temperatures lately, I've seen the water temps already jumping dramatically. I was on the Colorado yesterday, and it felt like bath water at one point.
Really?
So you got to be cautious. With that said, you don't want to. I don't want to hurt my business partners, right? So I got to keep the fish safe. And they act a lot differently in that kind of scenario.
Are they feeding when it's hot like that? I mean, it just
when it's hot, they get sluggish.
Okay.
They there's like a lack of oxygen in the water for them, and they'll move to the fastest, deepest water sometimes. So they're in places that to the average eye you would never suspect a fish to be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How much do they? Not probably an exact, but like, how much do you think that they move in the river system? Like, do you know
bit.
fish that like that fish is always in that hole?
Yeah, definitely. I have a few that I can remember that we've caught multiple times through the years in the same spot, same fly, same way.
Really?
Yeah, but you see fish move for certain reasons, especially spawning. And that's something that everyone needs to be aware of and protect fish. Is like when they're moving to spawn into creeks, don't target them. There's places on the Colorado tributaries that feed in where those fish all push to go create their cycle.
Yep.
And people need to be aware of that and leave those fish alone. And thankfully, we have some voluntary closures in some of the tributaries. But
really?
Yeah, it should be enforced a little bit better.
Okay. How detrimental is that, like the pressure on the fish during that time? I mean, like
I think it's huge. If you have a lot of dudes with spin rods going down there and just filling a bucket full of them, and
Yep.
it's going to take a big effect on the population. And then you add on top of that like hot water, lack of water, or like we had the Glenwood fire, which created all the mudslides after the torrential downpour that washed all that burn scar down. That killed a lot of fish. So you put all those things into effect. I mean, we're putting a lot of stress on these fish.
Right.
And then we come out and we torture them for fun.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, right.
Yeah, that's what we do. We torture fish for fun, fondle them, take a photo of them, and
It is fun.
say bye.
Yeah.
But they get to play. They get to play the game too. I mean,
I think the best
Right.
part's when they go back in, a little flip or something that
Right.
they get. Yeah.
Right. So like talking to like a beginner person, or if you were, would you always, because like the first time I ever went fly fishing was with you, and I will admit it was slightly stressful, but it was fun. It was.
I
it
think
was
that's
a lot
a
of fun.
disclaimer to go with Alex, because he does not like you missing fish either.
Correct. Like we'd float by like a rock or whatever, and be like, right there. And I'm sitting there like, I have no idea what I'm
You
doing.
have the
but
athleticism to do it, and I know
Yeah.
you do. That's why it's like, get it there.
I honestly should have like sat on the bank. You should have been like, go on the bank for like 20 minutes and like do this, and could have been a little better. But anyways, would you always recommend, go out with a guide your first time, or like how do you get somebody into this? Because
I mean, a guided experience is the fastest way to cut the learning curve in half, right?
right,
Like I'm sure with elk hunting, it's the same thing. Like you need to take the pressure off of yourself, because going out and trying to do it yourself, I mean, it can be a scary thing. It
Yeah.
can be really hard to figure out, and you're going to make a lot more mistakes. If you just take one guided trip, I mean, the amount of information you'll learn and pick up on, if you're receptive, is huge. You know.
I think one of the big disclaimers, and if you're okay with talking about this, is just like, what does it cost to
Yeah.
go out on a guided boat trip? Because I don't think that people really realize how affordable maybe it is when you're comparing other things in the economy right now.
Yeah.
So what does it look like for people to go out on a float?
So I charge $550 for a half day, $650 for a 3/4, and full day being $750, which is 8 hours. So 4, 6, 8 hour floats.
Okay. And how many miles are you going in those floats usually?
Totally depends. It depends on the flow. If it's super slow, I might drag a float out and sit on spots more. If it's super fast, I might do a longer stretch and just fish on the go.
Okay.
So it totally depends.
So
but typically 7 to 10 miles, I would say,
Yeah.
something like that.
So when we did our float, that was close to. I hadn't probably done 5 or 10 floats before meeting you, maybe with Joel B. I mean, maybe that was the case, but it's, and we're on an overlanding podcast. We're on, we do camping stuff, but the reason why I love floating so much is the scenery, the experience all the way down the river, the stop for lunch, the hangout, chill, you get to see places along the way, and that's kind of what we do in this whole overlanding space is you see places along the way, you stop. So I had a ton I don't think I need to wade fish anymore unless you give me a reason to.
There's a time and a place for it, but honestly I'm the same way. I don't wade fish a ton anymore. I think the overall experience for a guest too to go on a float versus walk and wade, especially with how crowded the rivers are now, is vastly better. They're going to get a way better experience. So it's because half the time now the wade guides are going out and they're just spending more time driving around the Eagle River going, oh shit, this spot's taken, shit, this spot's taken, and then we're going to fish this kind of off shitty spot, and
you don't get it.
Hope little Johnny gets one, but
well, so we'll just go with, so we'll say 750 is a full day experience. And that's 750 for the boat.
Right?
So two guys,
one or two people,
back, and then you're in the middle rowing. And that doesn't include tip, so everybody that knows that. But when you think about going out on a Saturday for an entire day, what does it cost to go skiing? What does it cost to do any of this stuff? And it's going and spending $375, $400 to go fly fishing for an entire day. Learn. We talk about mentorship all the time in business, and it's it's no different. The experience would be so much better if you go to an overlanding class, if you go experience it with other people that know what they're doing. Same thing with fly fishing. So I've learned more information that I haven't retained, maybe because I'm with you and I don't really see a reason to do it another way. We have too much fun doing it that way. So why? I'm not going to go by myself. I mean, my friends got boats and they sit in the driveway because we just go with you guys.
I literally was at Joel B's house the other day looking at that boat sitting in the driveway. Boat. Yeah, it's sitting in the driveway.
Doesn't get used because God knows he's not going to row. Oh, goodness. All right.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, that was broke.
Lose the fucking table.
Joel B actually floated in that boat the other day when we guided.
Yeah. When did Clark get that?
2 years ago.
I mean, with Kuyu's camo was really cool still back in the day.
Yeah.
That sounds like him.
Because he got the whole thing wrapped in, I think, is it the green Kuyu?
I think it's green and gray.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just green. I can't remember.
It's a sick looking boat.
It's a sick looking boat. Yeah,
I'm sure.
It's a very functional boat too.
2 other friends, and somebody's got to be willing to row. And you pay somebody for their knowledge and for their ability to row a boat really well.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen.
Yeah, it was.
That's a big thing, dude. There's a lot of everyone's a guide now, right? And COVID just brought all the rubber out off the market into the river. And I saved a guy's life last year. You got to pay attention to who's a responsible guide now. When you get a good float guide, it's your lives are in their hand.
What happened?
Do what?
I need that story. You can't just brush over that. Save the guy's life,
Save the guy's life. Next topic.
No, I was with a really good client of mine, Richard Mims. He's a badass, and he kind of helped me with the whole situation. But it was probably around the same time last year. I think it was 4th of July week, and that's one of the busiest times of the year. We're floating down the Roaring Fork, which the water was definitely pumping. It was high. We had a big water year last year, and it's 4th of July. Everyone's partying. Everyone's just wants to get out there and go have fun, but they don't really think about the consequences or how dangerous or not dangerous the river could be.
Yeah.
And so I'm floating down the river, going into Cemetery Rapid, which I don't think is a big rapid, but there's certain consequences if you don't know what you're doing. And I enter the rapid, and someone's yelling at me from behind, and it's a yellow raft, and guy's screaming at me to get out of the way while he's pushing forward through the rapid behind me. And I was like, turn around, and I just pulled off through the rapid, and I was like, dude, row your boat, like pull back. I don't know what you're doing, you know? So he floats past me, and or no, actually, I think I stayed ahead of him. And next thing I know, you come to like a kind of a calmer section. It's still in the rapid, but it's not as fast. And this guy comes by, and like a duck, he flipped over, and his head's just above water. And before like anything, I just grabbed the throw rope, hit him with it, and like hit him right in the head. And he's just kind of like, I was like, grab the fucking rope. And you can tell like he can't talk. He can't even say help.
Yep.
His lungs are so full of water at that point. And so grabs the rope. Guy in the yellow boat proceeds to yell at him and tell him to swim the opposite direction in which I'm pulling him. So I'm ferrying left towards the bank, and I've got the guy on the line. It's over properly over his shoulder. He's let go of the ducky, and I've got him on the line. Like, we're good to go. I'm rowing. Richard's in the back. He's holding it for me, and we get over to the bank. Guy's screaming, swim to the right, swim to the right. I'm pulling him to the left. He's about to drop into a big hydraulic, and so I turn around and yell, and I was like, your buddy's going to die. Like, fuck you, dude. Shut up, please. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got your buddy on the line. Stop talking. And so because the guy's panicking, he's looking around trying to figure out who to listen to.
Right.
Pull the guy over to the left. He's just completely worked over, lungs full of water, starts coughing, throwing up. And so we just sit there with him, because you can drown out of water, So we just sit there with him for about an hour until he's good to go, and his buddy comes up and apologizes, and we talked about the whole scene and situation.
Right.
Get the guy a taxi, and he walked out safely. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
it's wild, but it happens every year. I know plenty of my buddies on the Eagle River, especially, that have seen a lot of stuff. We find people every year.
Well, I had a friend, a girl that I played college golf with, that came up here, and she was, I think that they were either whitewater rafting down by Pagosa, or she was paddleboarding down one of the rivers, and not a dangerous stretch of river or whatever. She fell off and basically got sucked under, and life jacket got stuck on a branch, and she drowned. And it's like,
entrapment's huge. Entrapment is
scary.
One of the biggest things. Don't stand up unless you're in ankle deep water, and look out for strainers. If you see something in front of you, swim as fast as you can away from it. But people panic. Like, I've seen it so many times. People panic, and their brains just shut off, and it becomes flight for life. Like, don't ever obviously get in the water and try to grab someone yourself, because they're going to drown you,
Yeah.
Right.
That's what the throwback's for. Branch off of a tree, something like that. People just need to be aware that
what's the stuff you guys are required to carry in the boats for safety in Colorado?
So we all are equipped with first aid kits. Throw bags are the ones that you have to, you want to check it every year, practice throwing it, know how to use it. And a life jacket,
Okay.
Bottom buckle needs to be tight around the rib cage, so that when someone does go over, you're floating, but it's not pulling above your ribs and making it hard to see what's going on. And then we give a safety speech at the beginning of every float.
What do you tell people to wear? Because falling into a river with waders on is no fun.
No, people, you don't want to wear waders in the boat. I never have people wear waders. Yep. I want water shoes, ideally.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd sink real quick.
Well, I mean, we know that from duck hunting as a kid. You go out and you're hiking around the Missouri River, and you found a deep spot, and then your waders fill up. You're in trouble real quick.
Real quick, yeah.
And we did that with Dad when we would fly fish in Colorado, and wading around, he got really nervous, because they're if you get into rocky areas, they're not grippy, they're ice skating.
Someone's stocking the river with greasy bowling balls.
Well, and I mean, you slip or whatever, and you
fall and hit your head on a rock, and
Right.
you're just floating down the river hanging out. So
with the water full of waders. Well,
I got a totally random question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fly fishing movie?
Oh man, Cosmo probably. It's a short film that Yeti did. Dude, it just changed the game on how things were filmed. That and Running Down the Man, honestly. I mean, that's why I'm down in Baja.
Okay.
But as far as that's the story of Running Down the Man. Everyone saw that, and it was Rage Against the Machine. fucking running around catching rooster fish on the beach. Like, it was shot like a ski movie. It was badass.
That's
and I got
cool.
to fish with some of those guys this year, and Grant Hartman's a good buddy now. He's
cool.
like a legend. But then as far as aesthetics go, like Cosmo from Yeti was just, it changed the way people film fly fishing, and it was really cool.
Interesting.
Since then, I feel like everyone's just trying to replicate it. So
Yeah.
there needs to be, someone needs to come up with something new. But those two films specifically.
Cool.
I was thinking you were gonna like it was like a river runs through it or something like that.
Not a river runs through it. That's not my answer. No, honestly, I should change that. Not Cosmo's epic. That just pops into my brain visually, but Running on the Man is like,
Okay.
it's so badass.
that.
Yeah.
How is it? Yeah, we're going to talk about Baja in the second half of this, but just, doing media and seeing all the media and different stuff, and you talking about like it's changed the way fly fishing is is it being marketed or just photographed or shown? But is it different in the ocean than what you feel like it is in the river? Like, is one advancing faster than the other?
I mean, the saltwater fly fishing game is definitely picking up quick.
Okay.
People are definitely getting hooked on it, and that started with like bonefish and that kind of stuff, I would say. But it's definitely advancing fast versus the river, which I think people are like trying to figure out ways to keep it cool.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? But like, I'm all for like make fly fishing lame again.
Yeah.
Less people.
Right.
We always do that. You grow something,
Yeah.
right? It's similar to elk hunting, and it's like when Instagram
yeah.
came around, it was like no one was doing it,
Yeah.
and now you got healthy eating. You've got all these reasons to go do it, and now I think I don't want to state this incorrectly, but I believe Colorado next year is no more over-the-counter tags for out-of-staters.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that they just passed that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's
Not a bad
getting
idea.
too crowded.
Yeah.
And then it takes the fun away from it when you're trying to be out there, have a peaceful time in nature, and you're literally looking at a dude.
What's up, bud?
Yeah, it's like, hey, man.
Yeah, I know the
See
media
anything?
stuff. Like, we kick ourselves in the head with that, right? Like, I've definitely done it, and I've learned a lot in the years from that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you want to keep the stoke alive for the boys, and it's fun to capture stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a way to go about it, and also be accepting to change. Like, that's the biggest thing that I see in the fly fishing community that's tough to deal with. Is some people aren't accepting to the change, like, and other people getting involved.
Right.
And if you do that, you're going to end up an old salty bastard.
Yep. I agree. I deal, like we talked about this morning. I deal with it with golf. I deal with it with hunting, but like golf is exploding, and I love to play golf, but it's harder and harder to get a tee time now. But it's like, it's so cool for the game to have all this energy around it, and it's such a good thing overall. And then people bitch and they get pissed, and it's like, wait, you were the ones that wanted to bring other people to this not 2 years ago, and now you're pissed about how it
There's too
worked.
many.
With change, though, I mean, a certain respect just needs to be held, like, through what you're sharing, how you're sharing it, and presenting things to other people, right? Like, exposing stuff. Like, some of the apps now that are like, oh, this is where I fish, this is what I use, some of the river reports, stuff like that. It's like, don't take away, why people hire a guide. Like,
Right.
when I was a kid, fishing was secretive. Like, that's kind of, it's the same with hunting. Like, you have your spots,
Your
you have to
honey holes
learn.
and-
And so when you see that element being pulled away, that like, it's kind of the spirit of it is going and figuring this stuff out on your own a little bit, you know? So you have to figure out how to do it respectfully and not take away from that.
Well, I mean, back like going to Quetico and doing the Boundary Waters trip, our Uncle Mark just got back there. That's what we used to grow up as kids, going up there and packing in canoes and portaging around. And they caught I think my uncle caught an 11-pound walleye this last trip.
Oh, yeah.
And so they just got back. But I mean, like, that's like catching fish. That's like, that's not fishing. I mean, like, they hadn't seen a human yet. And you're just pulling them out of the water left and right. Most years. But
Crumbing.
yeah, it is a lot of fun. And if you love fishing for walleye.
It is fun, I will admit. And I'm not a big fisher guy, Sorry, but I'm not. I like bow fishing a lot. Love it.
I love
it. I think
you would love, like, if you learned how to free dive, you like the adrenaline side of things.
Yeah, I could see
spearfishing.
spearfishing would be sick.
Don't go shoot
But
them
I don't
all,
like
but shoot
sharks
some other
either,
shit.
The shark thing,
It's Shark Week,
Like,
or at least it was last week when I was watching TV at night. There was some wild wild stuff.
If you're spearfishing, sharks are a problem. If you're swimming with sharks, I'd learned through a great friend, Clara. She taught me a lot, and it's kind of a different experience. Swimming with sharks is a pretty epic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I swam with a mako and a blue shark this year thanks to her, and it was
sick.
It was
Did it
amazing.
make you? Did you just start like see it and you're like, oh?
I don't know, man. It's like it's a weird interaction with an animal that like is feared by most people, and then you get right in it and it runs into you with its mouth open, and it's really cool to see the balance between like you being prey with how you act versus, you know, you just being another.
I've seen them do like the nose push and all of that stuff, and they say that works, but I'm like, until it doesn't, you know.
I don't know. I was pretty impressed by. I mean, she taught me a lot. She's amazing, but going and having that experience, it was pretty cool.
It changed your whole perspective.
Definitely.
On it. Yeah.
I don't feel as stressed about sharks because of it, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's totally your behavior in the water.
So I saw a video the other day. Well, I saw 2 videos. So it's like paddling around on a paddleboard, and when the orcas come up to paddleboarders, where this lady fucking lost her shit. I mean, she's freaking out. You can see her legs shaking in the video, and then it like transfers down to Australia or somewhere else, and this guy's like, "Oh, baby, what's up? How you doing?" He like gets down,
and
I saw that so one. Cute. Like, I'm just like,
I don't think an orca's ever eaten a human, except for when they're in the aquarium, you know. Then they
probably shouldn't have been in there in the first place. That guy probably got
my favorite thing about smart animals in the ocean is Joe Rogan's episode on dolphins, when he's talking about when he eats edibles and then they're out fishing and he's like talking to dolphins. If you guys haven't seen that episode, it's one of his early Netflix specials, when he's talking about how smart dolphins are. And when you listen to Rogan talk about it, you just I could just laugh my ass off right now watching him talk to dolphins. He's like, don't eat the whole bear, just eat a leg.
Well, off that. So I guess to bring it back, because we're almost at 30 and we're going to talk about Baja and all that, but do you ever find yourself going out and rooftop tent camping and then fishing in the morning and doing stuff like that? Or when do you usually camp, or what's your...
So definitely. We go on a lot of trips to Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, whatever, to go fish. And we pack the truck up and, you know, roll out and use that tent. I mean, it's funny because when you first came to me and you're like, do you want a tent? I had no idea, you know, what to expect. And now it's like my second home. It's the most functional thing that I own. It's crazy.
Right.
So to be able to take it into the mountains and go camp wherever, I mean, it's been a huge savior. I don't have to look for a hotel or motel anywhere. I can go super remote, having an off-road vehicle. And it makes fly fishing in a lot of these places way easier. Yeah. Unless you're in a lightning storm, and then it's terrifying.
Right. So Alec's running Evolution XL on. You got a Chevy
V1?
No, Chevy Silverado.
Yeah, Chevy Silverado. You tow your boat all the time, so you've got your fly rod carriers. Most of the time, they're under the tent, right?
I've got it rigged under the tent, right on top of the roof. Maybe subject to change. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out and play around with it. But that has been great so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have the air core in yours?
No, dude, and I need to get that because every now and then I wake up in a pool of sweat on the beach and my hips hurt, and I'm just like, fuck.
We got some the best upgrade. Stuff. Yeah, we'll definitely hook it up.
Yeah, you're going to have to leave today with a better mattress, and that's been a change that we made that was really good. And I'm interested to talk to you about the tent in Baja too. Okay. I want to kind of hear your feedback on that, but should we wrap up kind of this first section on Colorado?
All right, we're back. We were just talking about a dog story. Do we want to jump into that right now, or do we want to talk about... it doesn't matter to me.
I mean, finding a stray dog south of the border sounds like a pretty good story to start with.
So, all right, how'd you find this dog?
So I just came home from guiding one day in the guide house, and there was just a puppy on the front porch, and George, I guess, found it wandering around in the street, and he was like, just came up to me, he's like, it's pretty fucking cute, isn't it? And I was like, fuck, dude. It's like, damn it, another one, you know. And so this isn't the first one.
This isn't the first?
This isn't the first one.
Oh, my God.
And so, you know, I was like, all right, well, this is our mission now. This is our dog. And so took care of her and, me and Cam pretty much dually did that, like got her food and set her up with like her bed and everything down there, and she shit in the house and vomited on things and was a puppy full on. And then you got to take her to the vet, get her vaccines, that kind of stuff in order to come back to the United States. But she was like the guide dog house, and she was like this big, she was nothing when we found her.
Yeah.
And, we'd all been drinking and we're trying to name the dog, and it was like either Tippet or like hook set or like boat parts. And we came up with bilge pump, which is the pump in the boat that pumps out the water when it gets, And so then after a while, Rudy just started calling her Chi Willy, which means catfish.
I love that name. That was
And
a great
so,
name.
yeah, I know, right? And so she was Chi Willy.
What kind of, like, is it just a mutt or like?
I think she's like border collie pit bull. She's
Yeah.
cute as shit. I miss her. This is her.
Oh,
She
wow.
was tiny, dude, when we first found her.
That's so
But
cute.
So you brought her back to the States and gave her the American dream?
yeah, I mean, she needed it. She needed to get north of the border.
Dude, it's one of the hardest things about, like, when we were in Costa Rica. It's like, I mean, my wife was feeding every dog. I mean, there was like 5 of them around our table at dinner, and it's like, you guys
Oh,
are
dude,
like,
we drive to the boat ramp, and you just like, don't look at them, don't look at them. You're like, they're fine, they're fine, they're fine. But like they die pretty quick if you don't
Really?
grab them. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just kind of a brutal scene, But it's sad to see. But there's such a problem with stray dogs down there.
It's just a infestation of breeding ground. of
Yeah, so
stray dogs.
we do what we can. George rescued Juju the year before, so we've got Juju, and she goes from Mexico to New York to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. She's
Really?
she
World
goes
traveler?
skiing and runs around on the beach, and she lives the life.
You guys take them on the boats with you?
Yeah. Yep.
What do they think of the fish? I mean, like, some of these are big fish.
Yeah, it's confusing for a puppy at first. It's a little intimidating, but they get used to it. We kind of throw them into it pretty hardcore. There's a lot of
Right.
stray dogs at the hotel, and Brent, Canella, Black Brent, and Pinky. And then
These are dog names?
yeah.
Okay.
And so you kind of throw the puppy into the pit and let them sort it out so they know not to bite and this,
Right.
that, and the other. And they end up being the best dogs ever because all they want is, love and
affection.
care. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
we brought Chi Wheelie back to the U.S. And
I might steal the name for my next time.
dude, it's so good. Rudy to thank for that. But I mean, I knew that I just travel way too much. I want Chi Willie very bad, but I love Derek. He's a buddy of mine that I went to college with, and his girlfriend Selena are amazing. And so I was like, they wanted her, and so I dropped her off a week ago, and it was a tough goodbye,
Oh,
man.
this is
Oh,
new.
I bet.
This is like,
Yeah.
this is a
Fresh.
fresh wound.
Yeah.
We should go see her then.
I know.
Probably should.
Yeah,
know.
go visit.
But,
She's
so we're talking about Baja. We're talking about the other half of Alex's life of being down in Baja. And so why don't you kind of tell us, this is the thing I really wanted to talk about here, because a lot of the overlanding community, a lot of the camping community is doing Baja. Baja is popular. So you've been there, you've done it. You've probably done it all. You've seen it, probably put yourself into some sketchy situations, but like, give us your rundown on Baja and what you're doing down there and the fly fishing and just the craziness of how cool it is.
Yeah. So I work at Los Locos Mag Bay. George and Rudy kind of pioneered this zone with the help of the locals there. And it's as insane as it could ever get, as fly fishing could ever get, or fishing in general. Magdalena Bay is just such a prolific ecosystem with such a large amount of chaos and death that also brings so much life, right? Like, it's a nursery. It's everything. The mangroves, it's one of the biggest mangrove systems in the Baja Peninsula. So you have a huge population of sardines, which in turn, you have mackerel, bonita, like all this stuff inside of the bay, and that feeds marlin, dorado, and all these pelagic species outside of the bay. And we have snapper and snook, and I mean, it's just insane how everything works together. And not to mention the whale migration. We've seen orcas, humpbacks, bride's whales, everything out there. It's just full of life. You go out in a boat and welcome to Nat Geo, like every time you go out there.
How big of boats are you guys going out in?
Tiny. Well, not tiny, but smaller, 27-foot pangas, because we want to be really maneuverable around the bait balls. Our goal is to go out. Our main our main goal is to catch striped marlin on the fly. So we go out offshore. The closest I've ever seen them is like 6 miles. You got typically like 10 to 15 miles, I'd say.
How long does it take you?
About an hour and a half, hour, hour at the shortest,
Right.
up to like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Depends on where they're at. There's a few different offshore features we focus on. But our goal is to go out there in these boats, get on a bait ball of mackerel or sardines, and we use the frigate birds in the sky to find that, right? So find the birds, find the fish. And then these marlin, it's quite the event. I mean, it's a spectacle. They're feeding on these bait balls, and everything else is too, like whales, seals, dolphins. It's all, I mean, if like you don't want to be a sardine, it's like it's like the worst thing ever. If you're a sardine, everything's trying to kill you, and it's chaos. Like that's the hardest part, is like keeping people calm. You get out there, and they're
Right.
like, "Oh, I'd love to get a practice cast in," and you're like, "Fuck, bud." You roll up and it's just like absolute chaos. There's like birds diving, 200-pound fish coming out of the water, fully eating fish like 8 feet off of the boat. Sometimes it's absurd. And then you
game
have
time,
to put
bro.
a fly in there. And
How big okay, so like I'm thinking about throw a fly in there. Like, oh, what's a fly in the ocean?
so we're tying a lot of mackerel and sardine patterns from like this to this,
Okay.
I'd say. But typically pretty big flies.
And then what's the equipment? What are you guys using?
So we're running 12-8 rods is like what my favorite stick is for it. Sinking lines, 500 grain sinking line helps tremendously when you're fighting the fish. That pull like brings the fish up essentially. There's a lot of different ways to fight them too.
Okay.
With different lines, but 100-pound everything pretty much is ideal. We throw mainly 100-pound mono, but I've seen guys, we've had like the Huffs come down and catch these fish on class tippet at 16-pound tippet, and it's impressive to watch that go down.
Is that skill? Like that?
Yeah.
That's all skill.
Yeah, fighting a fish on 16-pound class it's a spectacle to see in itself. Watching that angler fight that fish, but most of the time our guests aren't wanting to fish class tippet. It's more of a thing for people that are tournament anglers down in Florida, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, well, for anybody listening, go to Fish a Day on Instagram, because some wild shit. I mean, you got orcas on here. You got, I don't even know all these fish and what they are, but yeah.
Well,
it's
talk about the
wild.
one that drew you down there. Talk about the fish that got you down there.
Rooster fish. Rooster fish. Like, I don't know what it is about that. I was actually on the phone with Paul Sonnen today on my way here, and we were both just chatting about it, and it's like, I don't know what that fish does to the human brain, but it fucks it up so bad. Like,
This is the one you're chasing on the beach.
you can chase them on the beach or off the boat. They eat different things. I mean, we are keying in on flying fish most of the time when we see them in Mag Bay, but they eat mullet, sardines, everything. I've seen them eat ladyfish. And it is like my favorite way to catch them is on the beach. But I've never seen a fish like break a grown man so fast. Like you see the fucking mohawk come up and it just start like
I got my
pushing
mohawk going.
water like a full grown
did.
man coming at you at like 40 miles an hour, and people are just like, they look like, me and Cam call it the Rubik's Cube with their fly line. They might make a cast, but then they're like, fuck, I can't strip the fucking line. And you're like, please move the fly, please move the fly. And the fish is coming at it full speed, like just annihilating the tees, like headbutting the fly because it's not moving and they want to eat it, and it just breaks people. Like that's
Right.
it. Just the first time I ever went down there, I was, on the East Cape, and me and my buddy Stu, we're going down and we're trying to do running down the mountain. We're trying to find a rooster fish on the beach, and I saw a fish right on the sand, in like a foot of water, and it was huge. I mean, it was like a 4 or 5 foot fish, and I was like, dude, that's a rooster fish. And he's like, that's not a rooster fish, that's a fucking shark. And I was like, no, that's a rooster fish. And I ran out of the side by side and threw a fly at it, and it combed up and like snapped on the fly and didn't eat it, and I about shit my pants. Like, I had no idea that was.
They actually like deploy their.
When they get fired up, they have this like mohawk that shoots up. It's crazy.
Wow.
But
When they get excited.
yeah.
Got to get them excited.
Got to get them horned up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is that like, what's the most popular fishing in Baja? I mean, is this?
Marlin fishing is definitely a big thing. Like, you have the Bisbee, which is an iconic fishing tournament.
Right.
It leaves right out of Cabo. People are chasing blue marlin, but marlin of all species, striped marlin, blue marlin, and then rooster fish. Those are the fish of Baja, I would say. That and Dorado. Dorado are definitely a big thing there.
Dorado are like what do they look like? They're like
they're green.
Carp? Oh, they're green.
Yeah, they're like green, and they'll just eat anything in front of them. They're psycho.
Really?
Yeah.
How big do those get?
Really big. I mean, up to 100-something pounds. They get really big. We actually had an insane year with them this last fall. Like something happened that the locals had never even seen. I mean, you could stop the boat anywhere, and I could throw out a teaser, which is just like a hookless plug to just bring fish in so we can cast on them with flies, and I could start a feeding frenzy anywhere. Like, all of a sudden, you would just be in the middle of like 100 Dorado. You could stick your finger in the water and catch them. I mean, we free gaffed a couple of them for dinner.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you guys eating? What are the fish that you guys? There's sport fishing, right? And then there's like fish that you guys are actually going to consume.
So we're never going to eat the marlin or rooster fish. We're trying to protect those. We eat a lot of snapper. We eat a lot of yellowtail. If you catch a yellowtail, we're going to eat it.
On the boat.
We're going to cut it up raw and sashimi that for that evening. That's probably my favorite. Amberjack every now and then if you're lucky. Grouper. There's a lot of fish to eat, but you don't eat a rooster fish. Don't eat a marlin. Protect them. Yeah.
Those are like can you just describe for people maybe the difference? Because this goes into fly fishing is like you said, like we just go out there and torture them and let them go. Like there's sport fishing and then there's like other ocean fishing that I don't really consider sport fishing. Can you just kind of describe it for people?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big separation, especially between commercial fishing and sport fishing, right? Like, there's a lot of nasty things out there. Gill nets, long lines, those are terrible things for our ocean. It's like basically baiting hooks or using a net to capture fish. There's nothing sporty about it. You're just killing whatever you can, which is a tough thing to see, but it happens a lot in these places. So
that's just not. There's no regulation, or is it?
There
illegal?
is some regulation, but it's tough to follow up on in such a lawless place,
Yeah, right.
And that's what you have to remember when you're going down to Baja. It is lawless country, and that it comes with the territory. You have to be careful about certain things, and commercial fishing is a big thing there. And it's been a sustainable, not a sustainable way, but a way that the locals have done it for years and years and years. So we come down there as sport fishermen, and we have to be respectful of that, and hopefully teach and integrate like our methods and the way we view it in a healthy way into the local community. Because sport fishing itself is such a beautiful thing when you realize that you can make money off of, taking people out and catching these fish for fun rather than killing it.
Yep.
It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a win.
It's very interesting.
When you say long line, is that where they have like, however long a line and they've got the drops?
They've just got tons of hooks and bait on it, basically. Yeah. So whatever eats it gets stuck on there.
Yeah, it gets pulled up.
And then they, like on the commercial side, a lot goes to waste, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's a lot
goes to waste.
Just strangers that get
and
caught.
Just nasty stuff. Last year I grabbed a marlin that had it clearly eaten a long line hook and broke it off. And when I went to grab the bill, grabbed the hook that was stuck in its bill, and it like went straight into my hand through the tendon into the bone. And my finger seized up for 3 weeks. But like it's just nasty stuff. You don't want to leave fish with hooks in their face like that.
Yeah.
I see those guys on like Instagram where they go chase down like the seals and they cut like the whatever line, whatever they are, nets and fucking.
Yeah, I've cut a couple turtles out of nets.
It's like, it's makes you think.
It does,
because it does not look fun.
No.
What's your favorite thing down there not sport fishing related? Like, is there just something that you're just drawn to? Like, we talked about sharks a little bit earlier, but like, what's like something new to you that you're just like infatuated with down there?
Surfing, man. Surfing down there is super fun. I'm not by any means a good surfer, but I've got a few boards, and George also surfs at the lodge. Like we've got some awesome breaks around us, and on days off, it's really fun to go out there and just get your ass kicked. Right. And every now and then catch a wave and like enjoy it. It brings a whole nother element to being down there.
It's not easy.
No,
I've never catching the wave. Once you're up, it's not easy, but
Yeah.
you can figure it out. But
I love
catching
it.
it is,
I love it so much, man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. I got very frustrated because I'm like, I'm not paddling fast enough. Like, you just got to know how it all works, But the one cool thing that I'm nervous about Baja personally, and we've had employees and stuff go down there, but the whale situation, will they like come up to the boat and do all of that stuff? I'm thinking about Baja, right? With what are they? Is it the big ass whale, the gray whale, or what is it?
What are the big whales that
Blue whale's the biggest, but you're probably not going to see. You might see one, but I mean, orcas.
Isn't it Baja that has the what are they?
Humpbacks like
I think
one
they're
of the most
humpbacks.
common ones you see.
Yeah.
And
they'll like come up to the boat during.
Oh, the gray whales, that come straight up to you. That's gray whales.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that looks wild.
Yeah.
Is that their nursery? Is that because they
Mag Bay is a big nursery for them? I think personally.
You see
but
a lot of
I could
videos
be
where they
wrong
have
about that.
babies and stuff like that with them.
Yeah.
During that time, that's like a January,
They're calving.
December through February kind of a deal.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
What are some of the steer clear of things for people to know? Like, have you ever had any sketchy situations that have happened in Baja where you're like, "Oh, we're not going to do that again"?
So, like every weekend. Yeah. I mean, for a while, it just seemed like on our days off, we were trying to see how little fish we could catch and how bad we could get stuck somewhere. And that was like our days off. It wasn't like, oh, let's like go enjoy it. Like it was like, let's go try to do something, because this one guy like told us he saw a fish there one time. So we'll like drive 2 hours to this random taco stand and be like, hey, we heard where this fish is. Can you tell us where it is? And then he'll like point you another hour. And then you get there with all the boys and the truck completely loaded up, break off a mirror on a cactus driving through the desert, get to the beach, realize you can't fish it at all because the waves are so large.
Right.
And don't even pull out a fishing rod, get the truck stuck, start drinking tequila, and sleep on the beach.
That doesn't sound
Or
terrible.
your buddy inReaches you at like 3 a.m. and says that he's gotten the truck stuck. And you're like, call Jorge and get the tractor, get your truck out. And then they sort it out, catch a bunch of fish the next day, and then go on a rampage and get the truck stuck again. Like it's just always getting the truck stuck.
You guys need some recovery boards.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Sinking boats, getting the truck stuck. Like there's a lot of things that can go wrong in Baja. You need to be prepared and have a group of friends or like people that can come help. It's good to get involved with the local community and make friends, because they're going to be your most valuable asset in a time of need.
Are people pretty receptive, like to you, locals receptive to you guys being down there, or anybody, or just tourism?
Yeah, very
in
much so.
general?
Like George and Rudy, I think that's one of the biggest things I would pride them in, is the way that they set up this lodge. It's like they never went down there to like set up a fishing lodge and start a business. They went down there for fun, and they trailered a little boat down there and were like trying to figure out how to catch stripe island just for fun. And then it became this beautiful thing that was like a network of working with the local community. And it got everyone eats off the same plate. It got everyone involved, and you need that support. And it's amazing to see the town grow. Like now we're going to build a new boat ramp, and it's awesome to see people come together like that in the town.
That is cool.
That's the community thing that we talk about at Free Spirit, is like we're doing the happy hour event tonight and just try to get the community together. But it's like there's a lot of cool stuff that you can end up doing by doing what you love.
Yeah, all of our captains are live in town, so that we rely on them for navigation safely through the ocean as a guide. It's a whole team system. It's a beautiful ecosystem.
How do clients get down there? What's the process for when a client comes down?
So they usually fly into Loreto or Cabo, and then we have Javier from the hotel that we work with Fito. He comes and picks them up with a shuttle van. So 5 hours to Cabo, 2 hours to Loreto, essentially.
Okay.
And then once you're there, you're set up nice and comfy in the Maria Reina Hotel as of right now. And we come pick you up in the mornings and take you down to the boat ramp, launch the boats, and go out in the ocean. Come back in the afternoon. Everybody has drinks and appetizers, have dinner, and then wash and repeat.
What's your favorite tequila?
I mean, all we drink is Cabritas because it's like all we got. But No, I'm kidding. I mean, there's like Don Julio and stuff. I'm a mezcal guy though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what can somebody, I don't know, expect? We talked about a little bit of the guide cost of like Colorado, but what's it look like for somebody to go, I don't know, long weekend type of thing?
So the way you could do it a la carte, right? Like you can sub in for a day if you're in the area, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
We charge around $3,000 a day per boat.
Okay.
And so that includes lodging, fishing, and your food, not your
Right.
alcohol or tips, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But with that said, like the expenditures are huge. That's why we have to price it that way. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense because
Yeah.
you look at like going marlin fishing in Florida where you're just dragging shit behind a boat and you might catch one.
Right.
We're rolling up to something that doesn't exist like anywhere else, and casting a fly straight to fish that are blitzing.
Mm-hmm.
It's sight fishing for striped marlin. It's insane. So you get your money's worth. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
It's
How many
an
guys
experience.
fit on it? Well, yeah. How many guys can you put on a boat?
So 2 people.
Yeah.
Yep. So we do 2 people. They each pay $3,000 for the boat, or you
Yeah.
put 3 people for I think $3,500. Don't quote me on that, but
Right.
I think that's around where our prices sit right now.
How long do most people come for? And
5 days.
They come for 5
So
days.
we recommend 5 days.
And what I was going to ask you this about Colorado, but like, what's a good expectations and guiding? When I was, I help out a lot of elk hunters. It's the one thing I love to do is go call elk and see grown men lose
Yeah.
their shit and
Yeah.
not know how to act like a functioning human. But like, I totally forgot where I was going to go after that.
What's the expectations of?
The expectations of guiding. Like, I think people, when they come out with a guide, especially in elk hunting, it's like, I'm going to go kill a 390-inch elk just because I got a guide. And it's like, they're not around every corner. But what do you say as a guide is a successful day? Like, what do they expect?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is keep expectations low. Like, no matter how you look at it, what we're doing is incredibly difficult and challenging for anyone, for any of us. Like going offshore, the waves are pumping. The wind can be pumping, and you're trying to cast at fish that are moving up to 60 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, trying to chase mackerel and sardines. So it's hard, man. Like, you got to have your presentation on point. You got to be able to move the fly most of the time, and be able to cast a little bit.
On a skill level, what do you want?
I mean, I've straight up had guys that have never cast a fly rod catch a marlin on fly.
Damn.
It's possible.
Sweet.
It's very doable. Honestly, it is very doable. But it's challenging. It depends on the fish's behavior. So
Okay.
I think with any of these trips, like, keep your expectations low and you'll get the most out of it, because at the end of the day, this is the most cowboy shit you can do in fly fishing.
Interesting.
And just know you're being a part of that. Like, that's what's special. That's what I try to impress upon people. I'm always like, even if they just jumped a bunch and they're sad that they didn't land one, I'm like, no one else has seen this. Like, this
Right.
is
Look around.
Look
It's-
around, man. Yeah, this is special.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like it would be it'd be just a wild experience to even just watch. Like, it'd be cool to see you guys go down there.
Oh, I
and
wanna
do
go.
it
Once
and
you catch
stuff,
one,
but-
like, seriously, the coolest part is watching them eat. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I like throwing the teaser for the rooster fish. I could just do that all day.
Does they just go nuts over it or what?
Yeah, there's no hook on it. So my goal with
so
the teaser is it's on a spin rod, right? So I throw it out super long distance, and if we can, we sight cast to them without the teaser. But it definitely helps in a lot of certain scenarios, like if they're in waves and that kind of stuff, and we can't safely reach them. So it pulls the fish out, and they follow that hookless plug, and they just get fired up on it, like just chasing it, trying to eat it. So I could just do that all day and never hook one and enjoy it.
That's how I am. I literally go out in the forest and call elk in September and just take pictures of them. Like,
Yeah.
if they're close enough to take a picture of, they're already dead. If you had your weapons, it's like there is some of that's just like the natural, just like seeing them in their own element.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to happen. And you just get to
Right.
watch them and
Yeah.
experience it.
Yeah, you're truly in love with it at that point too.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Fully addicting.
Yeah.
So we want to do this. We want to do this Baja trip as like a company. Like we talked about Moab. Like, I haven't been down to Baja. I would love to do it. I want to hear what kind of all the craze is about. I've heard it's just insane and beautiful, and
Yeah.
the experiences are cool. What you get to drive through, you drive down there.
Yeah.
So like, is there, maybe talk about driving to Baja from Colorado, like.
So it's around 30 hours for me. There's a lot of different entry points. They're all different. I personally like Yuma, Mexicali is kind of a breeze. That's, I think, what George prefers. But there's a lot of safe gateways. But you just got to have your wits about you, you know, like always know where your stuff is, and just be careful with the local law enforcement down there. And, you know, I impress upon people that it's their country and there's a lawlessness there, and you have to be aware of that. So,
But overall, you would say it's
safe.
It's
yeah.
safe. Like
Yeah.
you should not be afraid to go down there.
Killing gringos is bad for business. It's
Yeah.
safe.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. It's very
It's
true.
true.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of this is a hard subject to talk about, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to say the wrong thing. But I mean, you just have to have your wits about you. You're in another country where things are a lot different and it's lawless. And,
Right.
But it is safe. I mean, I feel safe when I'm down there.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think a lot of that is like, there's a lot of places that can be unsafe if you're disrespectful.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You can go to places and you can go to ranched communities in Colorado probably that you go act like a jackass, you're going to end up on your ass. You know, like there's, that's just a respect thing of where you're at. And like you said, you're in somebody else's country. You're there as a privilege.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know?
Right. Yeah, you kind of hear the horror stories, but you don't know what the the background and what happened. And,
Yeah,
and the whole
exactly.
thing.
You don't know the scenario that those people were in, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I mean, and there is petty crime, but it's no worse than America. I mean, you look at the stuff going on in America, there's some bad stuff, you know?
Right.
That's what, when we were down in, where were we at? Not in Costa Rica, in Mexico at Nick's place.
Oh yeah.
I was like, like we're walking around downtown, like these 6'3" white dudes, and we're walking around downtown in tank tops. I was like, Nick, is it safe? And he goes, would you take your dad to New York City right now? Because somebody's just going to punch him over the head. Like, he goes, that doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
Because this is a different community, a different people. Like, they're very family oriented, very welcoming. Like, we met no one bad. I mean, everybody was so cool. Like,
Yeah.
friends, like you talk about these hole in the wall taco shops. It was just like unbelievable. And it's like, we walk out of them, it was like $8. And it's like, here's $12 tip. You know, like it's just a different, you get a reset when you leave America, you go somewhere else, and you get to feel it.
Yeah, and you see like different ways of life and how challenging it is for others, you know, outside of America, and it puts you it gives you a lot of wisdom, you know.
Yeah, it puts things in perspective. I mean, I would for sure go to Baja before I went back to New York again.
Oh, I would
That
too.
was a nightmare. I went like 3 months ago, and I was like, Madison, I want to get out of here. Like, this is stressing me out. Like, all the buildings, the people, it's just like, it's too much. But I think it would be a blast to come down and go with you. And I mean, I maybe do some practice here first, because
We're gonna get them there and there.
I'm not. We're going to just go have fun.
let's just go.
Yeah. Don't think
how
about
we
it
do
too
it.
much. You can get them on a spin rod, fly rod. It's gonna blow your mind either way.
Yeah. Well, sweet.
Yeah.
Well, anything else we want to touch on? I mean, or anything else you wanted to touch on? I mean,
Don't sink your truck in the ocean. Don't do
That'd be
that.
bad.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely don't drive your Cybertruck in the water.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay attention to
My
low
son
tide.
said
I
and
am
high
not
tide.
drive
driving
one out.
I'm not driving the Cybertruck down there if we get it.
No.
No chance.
No.
Yeah.
Although, maybe. You just had to stop a lot.
The sand is always softer than it looks.
You guys don't carry recovery boards?
We do, man, but it just changes dramatically,
Yeah.
and we just make dumb mistakes because we see fish blitzing
Right.
and we just start driving.
Just see red.
Yeah,
That's fine.
You just see the little rooster.
Right.
I can't
just
tell you
take
how many
off.
times you get the truck stuck. It's a normal thing.
I remember-
Definitely bring gear and bring an air pump,
Right.
bring recovery boards, bring a shovel.
Spare.
Yes, all
But
that
would
kind
you
of stuff.
say that it's like more challenging than anything you could get into here, or just different? And you got to be,
It's way more challenging down there because it's
Yeah.
elements and things that you haven't run into before,
Right.
unless you're versed in it. And you don't have the police to call. There's no one to call.
right.
But the local town that you can hopefully walk to.
Right.
Most of
Yeah.
the time you're in the middle of nowhere. So
That
you know
is
that you have
actually
no system to rely on but the people you're with, possibly. So in-reach devices are big. Water, shovel, recovery
Yeah.
tools, air pump, spare. Yeah.
You guys got Starlink?
Guides.
Yep.
You use it on the boat?
No. No. But-
Interesting.
yeah, but the Starlink is very helpful at the guidehouse in our
Oh, it's a game
hotels.
changer.
Yeah.
I always tell people it was the coolest product I bought last year. Like that actually changed the way I did things.
Yeah.
You know, to where I felt like I'm connected anywhere, or I can be as disconnected as I want to be. And
Yeah.
it was so cool.
Yeah.
No, the inReach devices have been our biggest tool, and like we have
The
really
Garmin InReach?
yeah we
the
have
text
really
message
good
one?
Yep, we have really good like plans for if something goes wrong in our response time. We've had issues, and I mean we've gotten to people in the bay in like an hour and sorted stuff out. So it's
Wow.
You had like your boats break down and stuff out
yeah,
there.
that stuff
and,
happens.
you know.
I mean, you're in
Yeah.
saltwater, right? Like everything rusts, everything
Yeah.
corrodes. You know, things go
Yeah,
bad.
you do your best, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Are they single engines or are they dual motors? Or
Single. So we run 170s.
That's what. So when we were in Costa Rica, they took us out like 35 miles, and I get in this boat, and I'm like, "You got one fucking motor. Like,
Yeah.
What happened? Like, what are we gonna do? Drift back? You know?"
Calling for a tow is mostly what we do, or come out and try to fix it on the spot, honestly. And we've done that
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like what else is important though. I mean, sunscreen.
Good one. Good one. Well, hey, look, I think this was awesome. But people can find you Fish a Day, guide wise for Colorado is what?
Southern Roots Outfitters is
Okay.
my business.
And
yeah.
then Baja, you're with
Los Locos Mag Bay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put them all in the description. People can get a hold of you. And
Yeah, and hopefully we can share some of the videos that Alex
Yeah.
got, because like talking about, like, I'm jacked up. Like, I really want to go. Like, I've seen all these videos, and it's like, let's go tomorrow. Like, when are you going back? Like, but it's all the things we talk about at Free Spirit, all the experiences, experience-driven stuff, sleeping outside, disconnecting, reconnecting, all that different stuff. And
yeah.
that's, I think what gets us all excited is what we're actually doing out there. And you and I, we always talk about this. Like, we're not
Yeah.
sightseers. We're like doers, like, let's go do something when we're there. So like, this is like right up our alley. Like, we can go do RZRs. We can take the Raptor down there. We can go fly fishing,
Oh, I know.
see the whales. I mean, it just sounds like such a dope place to go.
It is cool. I mean, it's become such a huge part of my life, and I have the boys and my family down there to thank for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
Well, we're happy to see that you're doing well. Can't wait to get back in the boat with you. And
Yeah, man.
golf courses are closed on Monday, and so maybe we'll have to jump out on a Monday.
Time to fish.
Time to
Right,
fish.
Yeah.
So,
All right, round 2 for me. But
yeah. And then hopefully maybe we've got to do this thing with Ross and Abel Reels, and I was telling Alec about that. Maybe we have him come down there with us and
oh yeah.
and do that with those guys. And we're all about networking, connecting great people together. And
Yeah, I'd
those
love to
guys
catch
have
up
been
with those
awesome.
guys.
So, yeah. That's
Sweet.
another one. Episode 5 in the books.
All right.
Adios.
See ya.